warfare tactics can your character use on a smaller scale in the winter? What is a bad way to cover snow tracks? How can catches help? Learn about all of this and more in today's episode. Welcome to Writing Rule with Allie, the Fiction Writer's weekly inspiration station for rural life and lifestyles, from historical to post-apocalyptic, helping you bring your rural stories to life. I'm Allie, and this is episode number 92, 5 Snow Uses for Villains and Victims. Stick around to the end to find out all the ways things could possibly go wrong. Now, let's get into this. Number 1, camouflage for people. Most people know how easy it is to pick out something that is a different color on a white background of snow. But what if I told you that snow can, and is, used as a way to camouflage people? It's true. Humans have learned to blend into their surroundings for thousands of years, hence snow is something we have used too. The most often thought of thing is snow camouflage. This is something that has been used by both hunters and military in most of history, and in places with regular snow accumulation. As you can guess, most of these have white, but they also normally have some black or brown lines or specks. While snow is white, most places have branches they try to blend in with. However, my favorite meme is the guy that used the flea market wedding dress as camouflage to go hunting. White gloves and all. Now this can be used by bad guys hunting your protagonist. It could also be used to hide the victims from their pursuers. Whether it is for crossing a frozen river on Christmas Eve to attack the redcoats, that was a Revolutionary War reference for those who weren't sure, or if your redcoats don't want to be a bright target in a snowy forest, winter camouflage will be their friend. Other modern ones that use this are wildlife observers, as they try to blend in. I mean, no one wants to be attacked by a polar bear or pecked by a penguin. At least I don't. Then there are ski patrols. They want to catch people doing what they aren't supposed to in the act. Sometimes even rescue teams at ski resorts use camouflage. If they're a group of kids learning to ski, they might be traumatized to see a bunch of grown-ups taken off of the mountain after an avalanche. Number 2, camouflage for traps. Snow has been used as a way to hide traps for trappers since caveman times when they were making deadfalls. Your bad guys will also use snow to cover any traps they have. A trip line set up as the snow starts to fall will not be seen as it's buried in the snow. Most people will only look if they think something seems different or wrong, but if the snow does not look disturbed, they tend to not look. Usually only warriors, paranoid people, or someone who grew up with them are the ones to even think about looking for more. Depending on what kind of animals move through the area, sometimes people will take animal paths hoping to blend in with the steps of the animals. This is easier if the snow is a little deeper and the animals are larger, like a bear. But don't forget, just as the bad guys can use snow, so can the good guys. On top of everything already mentioned, they could use snowdrifts to hide their movements from the other side, to make sure that they're set up to shoot at them when they reach the other side. Or even use a snow cave that we talked about last week in the top 5 survival uses for snow, like a fox trap. When the bad guy walks past it, the person pops out of the snow. This holds as much potential as your imagination can think of. Number 3, tracking is easier. Anyone who's ever been in or around snow knows that when you're walking through it, you leave footprints. If you have only seen this in books or on TV, they're not joking. 90% of snow types will have a trail left in them. The only ones that do not are when they are frozen solid like ice. This usually is melted slightly in the sunlight and then the water freezes in the night. This makes following tracks very easy a lot of the time. Even if it snows, it would have to snow at least 6 inches to cover the footprints without leaving what looks like concaves in the rough size and pattern of footprints. This, however, can be used by good guys and bad guys. Bad guys to follow and good guys to give them the slip. This can be done a few ways. First would be to find a way to cover the tracks. This is easier said than done, but high traffic areas would be a great place to camouflage footprints with other footprints. Second would be to make false leads. This is done by walking backwards on the tracks that are already made and then jumping over something like a bush where they don't see the new prints, or perhaps onto a boulder that has no snow, because the sun heated the boulder faster than the ground. However, this one comes with some downsides. Backtracking takes time. This could be life or death depending on the situation. Also, if a person doesn't have a lot of practice walking backwards, they could cause a slight doubling of their tracks. This would be plain to see, and the bad guys could catch on right away. However, if they were to come across the bad guys' tracks that were tracking them, there's a chance that they could walk along the tracks and find a way to split off that hopefully the bad guys would not see, or would take a long time to come across. This would give them a head start on the bad guys. Number 4. Making a blockade. Blockades have been an effective battle tactic since the wars started. These could be huge ways that people are stopped from crossing where they are not supposed to go with things like the Great Wall of China. More commonly thought of is the bottleneck. A bottleneck is where all of the soldiers have to go through one small area because of large obstacles, such as boulders or mountains. This is used in battle to be able to make a rock slide or other collapse of the small bottlenecked area. These same tactics can be applied to snow, and even on a smaller scale. If the only way to get through somewhere quickly is through a small pathway, an avalanche of snow will close that up quickly. If there is more time, or they know snow is coming, large objects could be placed in the path and left to be snowed on. In order to remove them from the path, they would then have to dig them out and then move them. This takes time, and in most cases, buying time the characters need to get away. Whether it's time to get to safety, get help, or just to get a better setup to fight back. However, this could come in handy for protection from predators in the wilderness, too. An avalanche and a narrow pathway to stop a charging bear is an option. Just make it a realistic one. Unless you're the Ice Age squirrel, and then you can get away with whatever you want. Number 5. Markers. Snow has been used as a marker in many ways and will likely still be used as a marker long after the apocalypse. There are many things that it can mark for both your good characters and your villains. Just remember, more than one person has to know what the marks mean, or it's not really very useful. It can be a trail marker. This can be to show where the path is, what path was taken, which one is safe, which one is dangerous, which is short, which way is the long way, and anything along those lines. Direction indications such as arrows or pre-assigned meanings are very common. This can be to show where to go, where not to go, distance, and more. This can also be used to indicate where a campsite is or where to meet up with others. Whether it's with other bad guys or a rescue group is up to you. Just don't forget that snow melts, and there is always a chance the marker melts and are gone, or nothing left like the marker was intended to look like. This is also something common for marking catch locations. A catch is a place where food or supplies are stored. This would be very common in post-apocalyptic stories. It's something that I've heard of people doing in hostile areas of the world. I've heard stories of North Korean Christians and even other religions hiding Bible pages or other important documents for their religion in the forest for fear of being caught with it in their homes. Weapons would be common in war stories or post-apocalyptic stories. Remember, survival, especially in extreme circumstances, tend to follow the military motto of improvise, adapt, and overcome. Rarely are two situations the same, and many times they can be handled many different ways. So get creative and save your characters. Or let the villain win, whatever your story calls for. Fun fact, some animals such as the Arctic fox change colors to blend in with the snow in the winter. One quick reminder before we get to the best part. To help others find this content, pop on over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. Or if you're watching on YouTube, drop me a comment and say hello or ask a question. This is the best way to help others find my content. And now, for everyone's favorite part, what could possibly go wrong? Likely to go wrong. Your character uses a bottleneck to get their enemies right where they want them. When they trigger an avalanche. Not only does it bury the other person, but it buries your character too. Avalanches are not always as predictable as our characters hope. Also likely to go wrong. Your character thinks they can erase tracks like a cartoon with a branch. However, this just disturbs a large area of snow in an unnatural way and leaves a clear trail of its own. Possible to go wrong. Your character is in snow camouflage and hunting. The camouflage is all white, and the animal spots them, causing them to run. While snow is white, it's often broken by tree branches, rocks, and other things. Also possible to go wrong. Your character follows a marker down a trail that they think will lead them out of the area quickly. However, they misunderstood what the marker meant, and they are soon lost. Unlikely to go wrong. Your character is walking in a forest and gets caught in a snare meant for a wild animal because it was buried in the snow. Also unlikely to go wrong. Your character steps in a leg hole trap that was hidden in the snow, and it snaps closed on their ankle, breaking it. Improbable, but still technically in the realm of possibilities. Your character comes across tracks of someone tracking them and follows the tracks for a bit before hopping over a bush and hiding their tracks leading away. The people tracking them go in circles until they get tired and give up. Also improbable, but still technically in the realm of possibilities. After the apocalypse, your character moves a bunch of cars to the bottom of a mountain pathway, and when the winter hits, they're buried in snow. Other characters know there are likely supplies up the mountain and try to go up it. They will either have to dig out and move all of the cars, find another way, or move on. Thanks for listening. Until next time, happy wordsmithing!